How's it going, everybody? The new Final Fantasy set has just fully released for Magic, so I am here on Arena doing like I normally do with a new set release and opening packs. I managed to get enough in-game currency to grab a pretty decent amount of packs, so I'm going to be going through them as quick as I can, but I do want to review a lot of the cards. I've seen a lot of them. Most people are really excited for this set, so you've probably seen a lot of them too, but I'll be giving my thoughts overall on most of the cards that I receive as I go, and hopefully soon I will have some deck builds for you very quickly as well, because I'm really excited for this set. But let's go ahead and start off with the first 10 packs. Got some rare wild cards right away, obviously, because we're opening a lot of packs. Let's get all the way to the beginning here and start checking out what we've got. Few of the town lands. These job select artifacts are actually really cool. The equipments, so we've got White Mage's Staff. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature attacks, you gain 1 life, and is a cleric in addition to its other types, so you could do some really fun cleric stuff with that. Marlborough, very well-known early game creature in a lot of the older Final Fantasy games. It is a swamp cycling card, so they have brought back some more cycling cards that you can use. So you could get this in your graveyard really easily. It is a 6-drop 4/4. It has an ability called Bad Breath. When this creature enters, each opponent discards a card, loses 2 life, and exiles the top 3 cards of their library. So really good, and it is a whenever this creature enters effect, so you can reanimate this very easily. If you want to use this as a reanimation target for a form of discard deck or something along those lines, it would be really good. We've got Instant Ramen, which I think is hilarious. It's a 2-drop food. It has flash, so you can do it on your opponent's turn, which is really nice. It draws you a card, and you can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice it to gain 3 life like most food tokens. Blazing Bomb, a 1-drop 1/1. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. And Blow Up, tap and sacrifice this creature. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. Since you have to target creatures with this, I don't think it's fantastic, and a lot of the red decks that I would think of putting it into, since it is a sacrifice card, they don't run primarily non-creature spells, maybe to an extent, but so I'm not a big fan of the Blazing Bomb personally. What do we got here? Commune with Beavers. I've seen this card used some in the drafts during the pre-release. 1-drop sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact, creature, or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So if you're doing something graveyard focused, this could be really good. It helps you grab mana if you need it, as well as potentially like an artifact or a creature. But the ability to basically fill up your graveyard for 1 mana while being able to like grab a land out of it or something early game is actually really nice. Not bad, and like I said, I did see it used in drafts as well, so there is some value there for sure. Get over here, we got Warrior Sword, another one of these job select cards. It is a 4-drop. Equipped creature gets +3/+2 and is a warrior in addition to its other types, and it equips for 5. These job select cards spawn a hero token with the equipment attached to it right away, so you don't have to equip it right away. I will say this Warrior Sword is one of the worst ones that I've seen. Extremely expensive with a really expensive mana cost, so I don't think it's very good. We have Bard's Bow, 3 cost with job select. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has reach, and is a bard in addition to its other types. It has an equip cost for 6, which is pretty absurd. So I don't know how used this will be either. But a 3-drop giving you a 1/1 creature, which will be a 3/3 right away from having this equipped to it with reach, isn't that bad. The re-equip is just where this is really not great. Got some more Blazing Bombs. We got Fight On here. 3-drop instant. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Not bad, but obviously if you're going to be running these kinds of Reanimator type cards, you're better off just running Zombify, getting it straight to your battlefield for 1 extra mana. We got a Blitz Ball here, 3 cost artifact. It lets you tap to add 1 mana of any color. I've not actually seen this card at all. And then goal, sacrifice this artifact, draw 2 cards, activate only if an opponent was dealt combat damage by a legendary creature this turn. That secondary effect's kind of crazy. Very doable, but weird. there are a lot of legendary creatures in this set, and not even all rares. Like, there's a significant number of legendary creatures in this set, so it's very doable. But, I don't know, 3 cost for a Mana Rock's kind of expensive. Of course, this is a standard card, so that's what you'd expect. Precious Wanderings, 3-drop, instant search your library for basic land card or a town card, put it into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. When you search your library this way, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Not terrible. I don't know that I would say that this is better than alternative options that you may have in a landfall deck or something along those lines. But the ability to put the 1/1 counter on something's nice, and the fact that you can get towns specifically means that there's probably some alternative value here that I am not thinking of at the moment because there are a lot of new town cards. We've got Cloudbound Moogle. Is a 5-drop 2/3, which is pretty expensive. It is another cycling card with plane cycling, so you can discard it to go fetch a planes from your library. When this creature enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So if you put the counter on itself, it would be a 3/4. Still pretty bad for 5 mana. It does have flying, which isn't terrible, but this is going to be, again, something that you're probably going to try and reanimate through that plane cycling effect rather than actually playing it out, because a 2/3 for 5 is pretty bad. We've got Adventurer's Airship, an artifact vehicle. It has power 3, toughness 2, with a crew 2 cost, flying. Whenever this vehicle attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. So this could be good in your monument-style decks. But I don't think so, because you're probably going to have better alternative options. So I think this is probably one of the worst cards at the moment that I've looked at. Lunatic Pandora. This is a 1-drop legendary artifact. You can pay 2 and tap it to surveil, pay 6 and tap it to sacrifice it and destroy target non-land permanent. Not bad. Pretty expensive for a 6-cost tap sack for the ability, but being able to surveil is not bad. The 1-drop artifact factor of it is actually pretty good. So if you played this in like an Ugin deck or something like that, since he's come out in Tarkir Dragonstorm, this could be potentially beneficial there. Again, I think you're probably better off with some other alternative options, but it's an interesting card. Dwarven Castle Guard. This is a 2-drop 2/1. When this creature dies, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token. A cool feature of this card, because I have looked at it previously, is that it does count as a soldier. It's a dwarf soldier. So if you're trying to make a new soldier deck incorporating things like Cloud, Sephiroth, this, for example, it is another addition in that deck that could potentially be one of the new cards. It's something I have looked at briefly. I haven't looked into it significantly yet, but it's one of the things I want to try building as a soldier deck now. Probably an Orzhov one, maybe something different. I'm not sure yet. You're not alone. 1-drop instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control 3 or more creatures, it gets +4/+4 instead. I don't think this is a fantastic card by any means. It may have some use in drafts, but I don't think it's even fantastic there. It's a combat trick, so you could use it to blow out an opponent's creature or to deal enough damage to win if they don't block, obviously. Since it's instant, you can wait until after they declare blockers. But overall, it doesn't like give your creature trample or flying or any kind of evasion ability. It doesn't give indestructible, hexproof, anything like that. So I think it's pretty bad, in my opinion. We've got a couple more of the cycling cards here. Ice Flan is the island cycling card. It's a 5/4 for 6. When this creature enters, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. That's not bad. So this is actually a pretty good reanimator target in blue, maybe Azorius or something like that. So I think this is actually pretty good. We've got the Hilgiz. This is the mountain cycling card. It is a 5/4 with trample and haste, which can be pretty significant, especially even if you had to cast it. That's not too bad. So this is probably one of the better cycling cards that I've seen so far. We've got Gisla or Gisala greens. I don't know how to pronounce that crazy word. Anyway, sorcery, 2-drop, create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land you can enters the battlefield under your control, get +1/+0 until end of turn, and it has flashback for 7. I don't think this is terrible, especially if you're playing birds. I think there are a lot better options that you've probably already been able to see from the pre-release, but this is interesting. I kind of wish it had some kind of an actual land fetch ability to it. Perhaps if it was modular instead of having flashback, because that flashback cost is pretty huge. But anyway, interesting card. We've got Crossroads Village. This land enters tapped. As it enters, you choose a color, and you can add 1 mana of the chosen color. So, not terrible. I don't love tap lands. You do get to choose the color of this land, though, and it doesn't hurt you to tap it for that land after it has been chosen, so there's some value there. We've got Iron Giant, a 7-cost 6/6 with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. Not terrible. Obviously, still some other better cards, probably. Interesting that it is a demon. There could be some value there. That's interesting. But a 7-cost 6/6 isn't that great when you can get 4-cost 6/6s, or even like 2-cost 5/5s, stuff like that. So I don't think this will see much play, if any. We've got Scorpion Sentinel. It is a 2-drop 1/4 robot scorpion. As long as you control 7 or more lands, okay, so not specifically islands, but lands, this creature gets +3/+0. I still think that's pretty bad. It's interesting. It is an artifact. You could potentially play this in like a Azorius artifact, something along those lines, and maybe it would be okay, because you don't care much about how strong the body is itself. You just kind of want it there to make the rest of your artifacts bigger. So maybe this isn't that bad. Got Laughing Mad with Kefka on it. Got 3-drop instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card and then draw 2 cards with a flashback for 4. I don't think this is bad at all. What was the Faithless Looting? I think that's a very similar card to this one that does essentially the same thing. Has a flashback cost. You discard a card, draw cards. So not bad. I don't know that I'll use it, but it has some value, obviously, in Reanimator style decks, which are going to be really popular right now, because Odin and Arden and the Jumbo Cactuar combinations with things like that have already shown to be really, really powerful. So, yeah, you'll have some interesting potential use for this card. We've got a World Map, a 1-drop artifact, which I always think is really good. No matter what the ability is, if it's this cheap for an artifact, it can potentially be really useful, especially in a Ugin deck. Like I was saying, the cheaper it is, the easier it is to kind of spam out a bunch of artifacts all after playing Ugin to exile a bunch of your opponent's permanents. But anyway, this one has a 1-drop tap sacrifice. This artifact, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. That on its own already means to me that this would probably be a pretty decent draft card for mana fixing, so I think there's some real use for it there. 3-drop tap sacrifice this artifact, search your library for a land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it doesn't have to be a basic land if you pay more. That's really interesting, because you don't see effects like that at all. So I don't know how competitive this will be in overall standard, but I do think this is a very interesting card. And like I said, has real potential in drafts to be kind of a big hit for mana fixing. We got Blitzball Shot here, 2-drop instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. This kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about that 1-drop white pump spell. This one gives the buff, but also gives trample. It does cost 1 more, but I think this one's much more viable for that trample. So this could be used, especially in drafts, or maybe even in a deck that's playing like Tifa, something along those lines. Not bad. This is, what was the... I can't even remember. It was like Overgrowth or something like that. Maybe a 2-drop that's very similar to this. We've got Sabotender. It is a Cactuar, a plant creature. Or a type of Cactuar, anyway. 2-drop, 2/1 with Reach, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Very, very similar to what you get from the Lizard that has the landfall ability to where it deals 1. The Lizard obviously has offspring to where you can have 2 of them, making it have a potential 3 mana cost value. But this could be used in a landfall deck, like a Rakdos landfall deck or something, with that Lizard, and have some potential there that's pretty interesting. Shinra Reinforcements, a 3-drop 2/3. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards and you gain 3 life. You could put this in another one of those kind of graveyard decks where you're trying to fill up your own graveyard. I think it's pretty bad, a 3-drop 2/3. You do get to gain life off of it, so maybe there's some more value there to it than I'm thinking. Again, potentially really good in drafts, because you could get that bonus, get things into your graveyard if you have a lot of Reanimator cards or something along those lines that you're getting from the draft, then maybe there's some potential there, but I don't like this one personally. Another airship, another Scorpion Sentinel, Undercity Dire Rat, 2-drop 2/2 Rat Tail. When this creature dies, create a treasure token. I think that's fine. It's not like the most amazing rat that you're ever going to see, but you do get value on its death, and a 2-drop 2/2 isn't the worst thing in the world, especially, again, like in a draft format. I think this would be totally fine. Airship again, another Pandora. Let's see, Cornered by Black Mages. This is actually a pretty cool card. 3-drop sorcery. Target opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. Create a 0/1 Black Wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. I think the Wizard deck, the Rakdos Wizard deck, or even maybe Adnan Blue, red, blue, and black. I can't remember what color that combination that is right now. Maybe it's Grixis if I'm remembering right. But those are going to be really fun to play. As a 3-drop, I don't think this card's fantastic, but anything to get you more of those wizard cards is really cool, so there's some potential there for that deck regardless. We've got Airship Crash, 3-cost instant, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. There are a lot of cards with that effect, and in my opinion, a lot of better ones, but this does at least have a cycling component to it that gives you some value late game, or value if you're not going up against those types of cards. But in my experience, at least in standard format, these are usually sideboard cards. It's kind of like Heritage Reclamation, different stuff like that. So, in my opinion, this one's too expensive. You've got 1-drop and 2-drops that do similar, if not exactly the same effects. They don't have the cycling, but if you're using this card, it's probably going to be a sideboard card, so the cycling doesn't matter as much. You actually want it for that matchup. So I think this is bad. Monk's Fist, another job select equipment, 2-drop with a 2-drop equip. Not bad, actually, on its own. And then equipped creature gets +1/+0 and is a monk in addition to its other types. As an overall kind of just cheap artifact or equipment, it's not that bad. The equipment cost is on the cheaper side too, so this could be usable, but I think there's still better options out there. We've got another Bard's Bow. Combat Tutorial, 3-cost sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards. Put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. I don't think that's bad. We've already seen how popular Stock Up is. I know this isn't exactly the same, but it is the same mana cost. It does get you 2 cards just like Stock Up does, and it can put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control. So I could see people using this in place of stuff like Stock Up if they wanted to. I don't think that I would, because you do get to be a little bit more selective with Stock Up, but there's still some potential there. We've got some interesting looking stuff coming on over here, but let's see here. Clash of Icons. 1-drop sorcery. Choose 1 or more. Target creature you control fights target creature your opponent controls. Remove a lore counter from target saga you control. Removing lore counters doesn't cause chapter or abilities to trigger. That's an interesting bunch. So you remove the lore counter. That means you'd tick it back down, right? Giving it an additional turn of use. That's pretty interesting. Or you can put a lore counter on target saga you control. And doing that, I'm sure, gives you the effect, but makes your saga disappear faster. That's an interesting card. I don't think I'm going to be using it, but there's some value there, especially with making your sagas potentially last longer. That's interesting. Stolen Uniform, 1-drop instant. Choose target creature you control and target equipment. Gain control of that equipment until end of turn. Attach it to chosen creature. When you lose control of that equipment this turn, when you lose control of that equipment this turn, if it's attached to a creature you control, unattach it. Okay, so essentially, you pick a creature you control, attach an equipment to it, even if it's an equipment that belongs to your opponent, then you get to attack with your creature. And then if you lose control of the equipment, for say example, if it was your opponent's, then it unattaches and goes back to your opponent. Interesting. A really strange card, but there are going to be a lot of equipment decks right now, so in blue this could have some potentially interesting ramifications to it for sure. Freya Crescent, this is a fantastic equipment card for Boros or anything like that that's going on right now. Legendary creature, Rat Knight, 1/1, 4/1, so it is a 1-mana creature that acts as a mana dork for equipment, which is so good. It has Jump, the new Knight ability to where it has flying on your turn, And then, as I said, it's a mana dork. You can tap it for red mana as a, let's see, only to cast an equipment spell or activate an equip ability. Technically, that doesn't mean that it has to be done as sorcery. There are things like, there's a white equipment celestial armor, I think is the name of it, that can be done with flash. So this could be used on your opponent's turn with that. That I didn't even consider. But normally equip costs are sorcery speed, and you don't have a lot of flash sorcery or flash equipments, but this could be used with that as well. So that's really interesting. This is a card that you're going to see as a staple in most cloud decks, most if they're running Boros or anything like that. So this is going to be a really good card. We got Wild Rose Rebellion, which is a alternate art of Counterspell. It is not legal in Historic or traditional Historic, which is interesting. But let's see here. Counter target spells, all it does, for 2 mana. We've got another alternate art card here. This one is a reprint of Fatal Push called Battle at the Big Bridge. As far as I can see, it says this is standard legal now, which is actually really cool. Destroy target creature if it has mana value 2 or less. Revolt, destroy that creature if it has mana value 4 or less. Instead, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn. So Fatal Push is, generally speaking, a very staple card in a lot of Commander, Brawl, or even Historic decks, stuff like that. So this being reprinted into Standard, I don't know if it'll get very much use, but the art looks really cool. We've got Vanille, Cheerful, I don't know that last word. 4-drop 3/2 legendary creature human cleric. When Vanille enters, mill 2 cards, then return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. At the beginning of your first main phase, if you both own and control Vanille and a creature named Fang Fearless, you may pay 5 with 1 green and 1 black. If you do exile them, then meld them into Ragnarok Divine Deliverance. So I remember Vanille from Final Fantasy 13, I think, was not the biggest fan of that game. I actually really didn't like playing it, at least. The story was okay, but yeah, not my favorite Final Fantasy game. But we got, on the flip side here, Ragnarok Divine Deliverance. It is a 7/6, which is crazy strong. Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Haste, all really great keywords. And then when it dies, destroy target permanent and return target non-legendary permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So a lot of really good value if you can get that meld to happen. Really, really good overall from the looks of it. Let's see what else we got here. We've got Esperama. This is a 4-drop 3/3 Judgment Bolt. On stage 1, this creature deals damage equal to the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard to target creature an opponent controls. So this could be potentially in a, like, is that spell deck, or even maybe like an Esper spell deck. This could be useful. And then for Sagas Chapter 2 and 3, wizards you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So you could actually see this as well, potentially in a wizard deck, maybe Rakdos or otherwise. Interesting, very interesting. It is a wizard itself as well, so there's that. We've got the Crystal's Chosen, very expensive sorcery. Create 4 1/1 colorless hero creature tokens, then put 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Being able to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control is pretty nice, because you'll probably, if you're going to use this card, it'll be in a deck that lets you populate a lot of tokens. But I think this is just way, way too expensive to be viable. We've got Omega Heartless Evolution. Again, another pretty expensive card. Legendary Artifact Creature Robot. It is an 8/8 Wave Cannon. When Omega enters, for each opponent, tap up to 1 target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X stun counters on each of those permanents, and you gain X life, where X is the number of non-basic lands you control. That's interesting, because that could be a double-edged sword. We just had the Dragon release, the Magmatic Hellkite, that is able to pop your lands, and if you don't have any basic lands in your deck, this could really bite you if you run into like that dragon deck, or even just that dragon in particular in a deck still. But interesting concept behind this for sure. We've got Yvonne, Aspiring Sky Pirate, which is a reprint of Captain Tanny Storm. Lanny Storm, maybe? I can't read it very well, unfortunately. The art makes it a little different. But the art is really good. 3-drop, 2/2. Legendary creature, human pirate with haste. Whenever Van attacks, create a treasure token. Whenever you sacrifice a treasure, Van gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It's an interesting card. Pirates, I know, is an archetype that sometimes sees play as a tribal deck. This could go in it potentially, and I could see that being viable. And there's probably more pirates in this set even too, so maybe. We've got Ash, Princess of Dalmasca. Is a 3-cost 3/2 legendary creature, human, rebel, noble. So a lot of words there, a lot of different character descriptors. Whenever Ash attacks, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Okay. It's only a 3-cost 3/2, gives you a lot of upside. You could even put this in a Naya Legends deck, something like that, where you have Annie joins up, get the trigger twice. So maybe, but I don't know how playable this card will be overall personally. It's interesting though. We have Tidus Blitzball Star. I actually am a big fan of that. Final Fantasy X was, I think, the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. I never actually beat it myself because I was very young when I played it and I was pretty bad at video games back then, but it's the first Final Fantasy game I played, so it has a special place in my heart. It is a 3-cost in Azorius colors, a 2/1 legendary creature, human warrior. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on Tidus. Whenever Tidus attacks, tap target creature and opponent controls. So this is actually really good. I could absolutely see this being run in an Azorius artifact deck, even though it isn't an artifact itself. Just the fact that you're going to be getting the triggers very frequently and it's in the colors you want it to be in for that, I think it's actually pretty decent. We have Fang here, the one that melds with the other card we looked at earlier, melds with Vanille. Legendary creature, human warrior, 3-cost 2/3. I think they were both 3-cost 2/3s roughly. And then whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, you draw a card and lose 1 life. This ability triggers only once each turn. Interesting. So they match each other. They don't seem extremely expensive, so you could potentially get both of them out. They are both legendary creatures, but that shouldn't be a big deal. If you're running a deck around trying to make this Ragnarok creature happen, it's very possible, I think. See what else we've got here. We've got Ultimacia, Time Sorceress. This one's going to be a really interesting card in my opinion. I haven't seen a lot of interest in it so far. It is an uncommon 5-drop 4/5. When Ultimacia enters or attacks, Surveil 2. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 4, 6, 8. So pretty expensive, and exile 8 cards. Transform 8 cards from your graveyard if you do transform Ultimacia, and then it turns into Ultimacia Omnipotent. Legendary creature, Nightmare Warlock. It's a 7/7 menace, time compression. When this creature transforms into Ultimacia Omnipotent, take an extra turn after this one. I think this card's actually good. It's pretty expensive, but if you put this in like a Dimir control deck, there is a potential to flip it eventually. And as a 5-drop 4/5, even at its base, and you get to Surveil when it enters or attacks, I think it's decent. You don't have to flip it for it to be usable. And like I said, this would ideally go in like a Dimir deck, probably control, even possibly a mill deck or something along those lines too. But I really like Ultimacia as a character, like as a Final Fantasy character, was a really interesting villain. Let's see what we got here. Barrett Wallace, 4-drop 4/4. Legendary creature, human rebel. Reach. When Barrett Wallace attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to defending player. So almost like an Arabella kind of effect there. In my opinion, even potentially better because they don't all have to be small creatures. But I don't know, 4-drop 4/4. I don't see it getting used a lot in equipment decks because it is a 4-drop. Ideally, you're going to want to keep things in the 1 to 3-drop range. In my opinion, it's better as an aggressive deck type. But maybe that's just my view of it. But interesting card, for sure. Final Fantasy VII character, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't play the original Final Fantasy until like way later in my life, and I didn't get very far into it. I do have the remake that I got for free at some point actually, but I haven't played through it yet either. So that's something I may do in the future, maybe on the channel. The Emperor of Palamacia, legendary creature, human noble wizard, is a 2-drop 2/2, which is pretty decent on its own already. You can tap it to add blue or red mana to non-creature spells. So if you're putting this in an Azet deck that is playing with Vivi or something, it actually fits really fantastically because it's not overly expensive, and it acts as a mana dork for any of your instance and sorcery spells. In fact, it's a non-creature spell, so you could even use it for artifacts, enchantments, whatever. But whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, put a 1/1 counter on the Emperor. Then if there are 3 or more 1/1 counters on it, transform it. Okay. 4-cost non-creature spells, especially on an Azet deck, is probably going to be pretty hard to accomplish. So transforming this seems less viable to me. But once it transforms, it is a 3/3 Demon Warrior or Demon Noble Wizard. It has an ability called Starfall. Whenever the Lord Master of Hell attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard. So if you plan a deck around this, probably using this in VV, maybe even using other wizards, because this is a wizard card, and you focus on getting it to transform, so there is some potential there for that, then this could be massively damaging, hitting your opponent for all of those instants and sorceries in your graveyard. So there is potential for this card. I don't have my head wrapped around it because I don't play blue a lot, and I haven't been playing like the Azet Prowess deck or anything. But I know that wouldn't really fit the archetype for this. You'd have to do something different, maybe even like a Storm deck or something, like I saw some people doing during the pre-release. We have Glot, King of Dwarves, 2-drop 1/1, legendary creature, Dwarf Noble, double strike. When Glot or another dwarf you control enters, and whenever an equipment you control enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. The double strike is nice. This seems catered around primarily the artifact decks, and I think you're going to have just better options, honestly. It is nice to have the cycling ability, I suppose, but I don't think it's necessary in that deck. Again, in my mind, if you're making an artifact deck and like a Boros equipment deck or something along those lines, you're going to want to be really aggressive, and I feel like this card is just too slow. It's all about cycling your cards and kind of trying to dig for stuff, and I don't feel like that's what you really do in that deck, in my opinion. Another Crystal's Chosen. We've got a Summon Shiva, so here's another one of the Saga creatures. It is a 5-drop with 2 blue specific 4/5. It's Chapter 1 and 2, Heavenly Strike. Tap target creature an opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. And then Chapter 3, Diamond Dust. Draw a card for each tapped creature your opponent controls. I don't think that's that great, personally. Kind of not a fan of this one. What we got here for Elixir? 1-drop artifact. In my opinion, that's already pretty decent if you want to do something with it like an Ugin deck or something. This artifact enters tapped. I don't think that really matters. 5-cost. Tap, exile this artifact, shuffle all non-land cards from your graveyard into your library. You gain life equal to the number of cards shuffled into your library this way. Okay, this could actually have some potential to be a really good sideboard card for going up against Mill. Mill's going to be really prominent right now with the Blue Water Crystal, especially with the Riverturn Monument and stuff like that. So you may want to put a couple of these in your sideboard just for when you go up against Mill, so that you can shuffle your library back in and pretty much completely ruin whatever they were doing. So I really like this card. I don't know if I'll end up doing it, but it has a very good use for something that is necessary with the current standard. So I think this is actually an awesome card. See what we got here. Cecil Harvey. Or Cecil. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his name. I've played a lot of the Final Fantasy games, but where I know most of these characters from is actually the Dissidia games, because I've played all of them, and I don't remember if his name's Cecil or Cecil. I do see that this is a reprint of Timna the Weaver. I don't know that card off the top of my head, but 3 cost, 2/2 legendary creature, human cleric, lifelink at the beginning of each of your post-combat main phases, you may pay X life, where X is the number of opponents that were dealt combat damage this turn, and if you do, draw X cards. And it has a partner. Partner means that if you have a commander, if you have this as your commander, then its partner also is your commander, and you can kind of switch between the two. I don't know who this is partnered with, but that's interesting. It's very interesting. Let's move on to the next one. I love the art, by the way. Got another rare wild card. I will take it. We got Squall, Seed Mercenary. I'm a big fan of Squall. Whether you call him Squall or Leon, you know, that it kind of depends on where you were introduced to him to. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's Final Fantasy 6? No, 8. Okay. So this was after Final Fantasy 7. But legendary creature, Human Knight Mercenary, 4-drop, 3/4, Rough Divide. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until the end of the turn, which I think is actually a really interesting ability. And whenever Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I think this has a really, really good spot in Sephiroth decks right now. Because if most people are going to be wanting to play Sephiroth in an aristocrat style deck that does something along the lines of having him sacrifice a bunch of small creatures, this thing can get you back Sephiroth from the graveyard to the battlefield, because Sephiroth is a 3 mana or less creature. And if you're playing Raise from the Past or something like that, it doesn't hit Sephiroth because he's 3 mana. So I think this is actually potentially a really good card for those sorts of decks. I usually call him Leon because I was introduced to Squall in Kingdom Hearts, which, if you're not familiar, this channel very much so likes Kingdom Hearts. It was one of the first games I played on the channel. I've got a few of the boss fights still up on the channel, and also I just love Kingdom Hearts, so I do go between calling him Squall and Leon. It just depends, but also one of my main characters that I played with in Dissidia all the time, so very, very big fan of Squall. We got Tifa Lockhart. This is a very, very, very popular card right now. 2-drop, 1/2, legendary creature, human monk. Trample on its own, and it has a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, double Tifa Lockhart's power until end of turn. I've already seen so many people talking about one-hit kill combos with her, you know, going crazy with her. She's very good in landfall decks that play Bristly Bill, or that Hydra that has a similar ability, doubling 1/1 counters on landfall. So, very, very popular card. Pretty cool to see that I got one of these. Memories Returning, 4-drop, sorcery. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, then choose one opponent. They put one on the bottom of your library, then put one into your hand. Then they put one on the bottom of your library and put the other into your hand, and it has a flashback for 9. This card is so complicated, but it's going to be good for blue decks, and it's not even that expensive. The flashback is pretty expensive, but a 4-drop card that essentially gets you like 2 to 3 cards in your hand is pretty good. But that's just a lot of text for me, and I don't like playing blue all that much, so I'll probably never use this. We've got Zell, 3-drop, 0/3, legendary creature, human monk. You would play additional land on each of your turns, which is a fantastic ability with the new landfall cards. Zell gets +1/+0 for each land you control, so also gets benefit from it. And at the beginning of your end step, return a land you control to its owner's hand. That kind of sucks, but it does allow you to trigger your landfall effects over and over again effectively. So, not bad. I will say I haven't seen very many people doing like Gruul landfall. Mostly it's been mono green or like Golgari. So, kind of surprising to see a red card play into that landfall effect so much. Hope Easton. This one is a 2-drop, 2/2 in Azorius colors. This is kind of one of those mill cards I was talking about. Legendary creature, human wizard with lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, each opponent mills X cards, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. I do know that people are going to be trying to build around this card. It's a really interesting effect, and mill is going to be popular right now. So yeah, this one's a cool card to see too. Again, I don't play a lot of blue, and I don't have like the good lands for Azorius, unfortunately, because I don't play those color combinations often, but this is a very neat card. Got a Mythic Wild card. Noctis, Prince of Lucis. It is a 4-drop in Esper colors, a 4/3 legendary creature, human noble with lifelink. Could potentially go in that Hope deck, and makes a lot of sense too, because if you're going to do mill, you usually want to add. You usually, in my experience, would be playing Demir if you're doing mill. So having it in Esper colors leans into that Hope card as well, so they could go well together. Both have lifelink. You may cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to paying their other cost. If you cast a spell this way, the artifact enters with a finality counter on it. That ability doesn't seem to go along with anything else that I would be trying to do with this deck. It's a really weird ability for these colors, and I don't love it. But if you're trying to do something artifact themed in Esper, maybe you could fit Noctis in. Like I said, I think this goes better with like a Hope deck, but the ability doesn't really synergize with that, so it's a weird one. We've got the Buster Sword here. That's a pretty good get. 3-drop with a 2 mana cost, which is actually super efficient mana-wise. This is a really good mana cost for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+2, and whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. So this card's crazy. It's absolutely nutty and busted. It goes fantastically with Cloud, obviously, because Cloud doubles the triggers that this equipment would cause, so you get to do it twice. And getting to play cards from your hand from free is just a really crazy ability even on its own. The equip cost on this is fine, not to mention there are creatures that can equip for free essentially at this point. A 3 mana cost equipment is totally not overpriced. So yeah, this card's silly. It's absolutely nutty. Ooh, we got Kefka the Court Mage. It is in, I believe I said Grixis is those color combinations earlier. It is a 5-cost 4/5. Whenever Kefka enters or attacks, each player discards a card, including yourself. Then you draw a card for each card type among those cards discarded this way. So if you have multi-typed cards, such as, artifact creatures, enchantment creatures, things like that, you can potentially force it to give you an additional 2. So there is value there. For example, Fear of Missing Out would probably go in a deck with Kefka, and so that's an enchantment creature right there that has a lot of cycling potential for you to begin with, and that guarantees you're getting 2 cards drawn even off of your own discard, no matter what your opponent discards. If they do an instant or sorcery on top of that, then you could potentially get 3 cards, and if they were crazy enough to do like a dual type creature or something as well. So it does have its benefits. You would need to play to it for it to be useful. And then it has an 8 cost. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice. Then you transform Kefka, and you can only activate this as a sorcery. Once transformed, it is a 5/7 with flying. Whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards. I think this transform ability is terrible. It's really, really expensive. You're not really in colors to ramp up to it, in my opinion. You could play a control-y type of deck, and maybe this works for that. But I just don't think this is a good transform. It's too expensive. And you're going crazy with drawing. Obviously, there was a commander precon for this. This is probably more of a commander card than a standard card, so maybe fair on that. But on its base, if you don't flip it, it is still interesting and decent to where maybe you could build around it. It's a little restrictive with the mana cost. This is really, in my opinion, more of something that you'll see use in Brawl or Commander. But anyway, there's the first 10 packs. Let's see what we got next. More wild cards popping up. I'm going to have a lot of fun with those also. Looks like already I can see we've got some very interesting cards here that we didn't get in the last bunch. But we got some more towns here. Black, red, black, blue. Looks like we got 3 of these Trino Dark Cities. We got the red, green. Yeah, got a bunch of these towns this time. Vincent's Limit Break. I actually like this card. It's one of the better tiered cards, in my opinion. But it's an instant for 2. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control, and has the chosen base power and toughness of whatever you pay into below. So, when you cast this instant, immediately if your creature dies on this turn, it's going to return to the battlefield tapped under your control, or under its owner's control, so if you use it on one of your own, then it's going to give it back to your opponent. if it was their card originally. Now, if you pay in 0, that creature until end of turn becomes a 3/2. If you pay an additional 1, making this a 3-cost spell, it becomes a 5/2. And if you pay an additional 3, making this a 5-cost card, it becomes a 7/2. It doesn't permanently become that, and if it dies and then returns, it still comes back with its base stats. It is just essentially that is going to gain these base stats for the attack on that turn until it dies and returns to the battlefield or what have you. Overall, I actually still really like this card. I know there's been a lot of confusion on it that I've already been hearing in the community, but I think it's a really cool card. I'm a big fan of Vincent Valentine. I'll go ahead and tell you, too, my biggest disappointment out of this whole set already is I went to go look for avatars in the store out of the new ones. I really love all of them. They're all great. However, they didn't have Vincent Valentine, and it's who I would have picked. So I got Sephiroth as a consolation, but I'm so disappointed that Vincent Valentine wasn't an avatar option. Huge missed opportunity, in my opinion. I love that character. Not to mention, was voiced by Matt Mercer, too. Really cool guy. I don't know if you'd all be familiar with him. Obviously, he's a big part of Critical Role, usually the Dungeon Master. Sometimes he takes other roles. But, yeah, I've met him. He's a really cool dude in person, too. And he was super excited to be playing Vincent Valentine as a voice actor because it was a surprise sprung on him. So, really cool character, too. Played Final Fantasy Dirge of Cerberus, where he was the main character, and it was a blast. It's one of the more fun ones that I've played. I actually kind of like a lot of the spin-off games better than the main title games for Final Fantasy, such as, like, my favorite ones are probably, like, Dirge of Cerberus and Crisis Core. Big fan of Zach Fair, and because of that, I kind of hate Cloud, because I really loved Crisis Core. But anyway, I'll move on. We've got Namazu, a Trader. It is a fish citizen 4-drop 3/4. When this creature enters, you lose 1 life, create a treasure token, and whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, surveil 2. I think this is too mana expensive to be useful. A 4-drop 3/4 isn't the worst thing in the world, and it creating a treasure token is fine. I just feel like it's too slow. Too big, too slow. Got Rook Turret, a 4-drop 3/3. Artifact creature construct with flying. Whenever another artifact you control enters, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. I would say this could go in the Azorius artifact deck, but I think still this is too clunky. Just a little too slow with a 4 mana cost when you could just get better value out of something else instead. We've got, I do not know how to pronounce that. Queekern? I don't know. Another merchant card, Beast Citizen, 3-drop 1/4. Pay 1 and tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Pay 7 and tap, sacrifice this creature, draw 3 cards. This ability costs 1 less to cast for each town you control. So much more usable than you'd think at first glance if you put towns in your deck. However, I think it's still pretty bad. I don't think towns is going to be a really good deck to begin with if you're playing into those, because most, if not all of, well, not all of them, but most of them enter tapped. I know starting town is a little bit complicated in whether it enters tapped or not, but I just don't think this is going to be good. We have Summon Ifrit, GF Ifrit, 3-drop 3/2. Sagas 1 and 2 is you may discard a card if you do draw a card. And Sagas 3 and 4 is add 1 red mana. I think this is a fine summon. It's not super great being a 3-drop 3/2, but if you're doing a type of cycling deck, maybe you're doing like Jeskai Oculus or something like that, this card could fit in that and not be any problem at all. It has value even if you have to reanimate it instead of the Oculus or something like that. Because it gives you that cycling, it gives you that extra mana. So I don't think this is bad at all, and it could see play in some of those types of decks. We've got the Gigantode, 4-drop 4/4. As long as you control 7 or more lands, this creature gets +2/+2. So if you have this late game or ramp up to it, it could potentially be a 6/6. Not bad. I don't think it's fantastic, but I don't think it's terrible. It's an interesting card. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play, if I'm being honest. I don't think it's good, but it's interesting. We've got Retrieve the Esper, a 4-drop sorcery. Create a 3/3 blue robot warrior artifact creature token. Then if this spell was cast from the graveyard, put 2/1/1 counters on it. So if you pay 4 and play it, you get a 3/3 robot. If you flashback it for 6, it looks like, then you get a 5/5 robot instead. I don't think it's very good. I think this is a very expensive card that doesn't give you as much value as you'd want from it. Grand Pulse Ochu. It's 1-drop 1/1 with Death Touch Plant Beast. Pay 8 until end of turn. This creature gets +1/+1 for each permanent card in your graveyard. I don't actually think this is bad. I don't think this is going to see a lot of play, but a 1-drop 1/1 with Death Touch is already fine, and the ability to make it huge if you're playing some kind of a graveyard-focused Golgari deck or something means that there is some value there to this card, so this could see play. I just don't think it will see a lot right away. Summon Fat Chocobo. This one's an awesome card. Another Saga. It's a 5-drop 4/4. It has, for Saga 1, create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land you control enters, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And then Sagas 2 through 4, creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. I don't think this is going to be a staple for many Chocobo decks or anything like that, but this is a very funny card, and it actually is decent. It's one of the longer Saga cards, so it doesn't go away right away, and it's going to give all of your creatures trample for like 3 turns as long as it doesn't die, which is pretty huge in these kinds of Chocobo decks because they don't have trample to begin with. My personal opinion, you're going to want to run the Herd Heirloom. I think that's what it's called, that you can give trample to your creatures as long as they have at least, like, and then, like, draw if they have 4 power or something. I don't know. That card's going to be way better in a Chocobo deck than something like this to begin with, because it also ramps for you. But this is still interesting. We got Magitech Infantry. 1-drop 1/1. I want to make clear this is a soldier. So it could fit in that soldier deck with Cloud and Sephiroth if someone's trying to build that other than me. This creature gets +1/+0 as long as you control another artifact, so if you have more of them out on the field, they become stronger. And you can pay 3 to search your library for a card named Magitech Infantry, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So you can pay 3 to search for more of them. Obviously, it's not one of the ones where you can have any number of this card in your deck that you want, but again, if you're running some kind of a soldier synergy, or even just trying to make them stronger because they'll become like a 2/0, a 3/0, things like that as you get more of them out on the battlefield, and it is a 1-drop, so it's potentially really useful in those kinds of decks to begin with. So I don't hate this card, and I might use it in that soldier deck if I ever build it. We've got another Ifrit. We've got the Black Mage's Rod. This is a really, really good equipment that I'm going to say will see a lot of play in any deck that decides they want to do the Black Mage thing. It is a job select equipment for 2 with a re-equip cost of 3, which is pretty acceptable even on its own. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent and is a wizard in addition to its other types. So this lends towards wizards. You could use this in a Kuja deck. It does the things with pinging your opponents for Black Wizard stuff. It's a really good card that I think you're going to see in a lot of Rakdos or Grixis wizard decks. So this is actually something I think is one of the better job select cards, especially that we've seen so far. We'll get over here. We've got a Sahagin, a 2-drop 1/3 Merfolk Warrior. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, and it can't be blocked this turn. It's cool. It's flavorful. I don't think it's very good. It's just my opinion. You could do way better. And I don't even think it really fits in like the wizard deck or anything like I was talking about, so I'm just not a big fan of this. But it is a Merfolk, so maybe it'll go in a Merfolk deck. We've got Riona Hartley, 5-drop 4/4 legendary creature, human rebel warlock. Whenever Renoa enters, create Angelo, a legendary 1/1 green and white dog creature token. Angelo Cannon, whenever Renoa attacks another target creature you control, gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature you control. So if you're populating really excessively, that's pretty good. I would say she would be good with, and she may still be, with the Elspeth that just came out, Stormslayer, except her Angelo token is legendary, so you're still only going to get 1 of those, but still potentially useful from a populate standpoint, so who knows. We've got Overkill. I know a lot of people like this card. It is basically an instant kill, on anything it targets, even if it has indestructible. So, I mean, there is that. This gets around indestructible really, really nicely and guarantees that whatever it is dies. It is a 3-drop instant. Target creature gets -0, -9,999 until end of turn. So, minus abilities will kill indestructible things. I really don't think it's possible for anything to be big enough not to instantly die from this. So if you're playing, maybe this will be a sideboard card for if you're running up against a lot of indestructible stuff. I don't know. Overall, I don't think it's going to be used over cheaper removal spells like Go for the Throat, Cut Down, you know, those sorts of staples that have been in the standard forever. But, you know, maybe when they cycle this, like I said, my best bet for this is that it could be a sideboard card, maybe, if you know you're up against indestructible stuff. So maybe if that becomes a popular deck, this will become a staple sideboard card. I just don't think it will, because people don't really run that many indestructible creatures to begin with. We've got Adalbert Steiner, 2-drop 2/1, lifelink, legendary creature, human knight. Adalbert gets +1/+1 for each equipment you control. There is some definite potential to see him in these equipment decks. Him not having a lot of toughness is pretty irrelevant, and when you consider having something like Leyline Axe, since it gives first strike, it gives double strike. So the toughness doesn't really matter as much, and it having lifelink means that it getting that more power for each creature you control is pretty fantastic. So this is probably going to be seen in a lot of the equipment decks, especially like Boros and stuff. I don't know how much, I don't know if it's a staple, but it's a pretty good one, so it's very likely to be seen. The big thing with a lot of the creatures that are going to be in that deck is that they're legendary, so you're only going to be able to have one of them out on the field at the time, so you're probably not going to be running a full playset of Adalbert, even if you have it in your deck. Shadowbringers Azorius is a reprint of Dovin's Veto. I'm not familiar with that card, but it's essentially an instant. The spell can't be countered, counter target non-creature spell. So an uncounterable negate in Azorius colors is pretty good, and the art's great. I love most of the arts in this set, so pretty big fan. Evil Reawakened is a 5-cost sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it. It's cool, but if you're going this route, just use Rakdos Joins Up. Same mana cost, also gives the 1/1 counters, also hurts your opponents if it's legendary. A lot of these creatures are legendary, so it just fits better. Honestly, if you're going to run a 5-drop Reanimator, I think it should probably be Live or Die, because it's instant speed, so you can use it as a combat trick to blow out your opponents. Way better than sorcery or instant speed. And then if you're going to run, you know, a sorcery speed revival, then you're probably going to just want to use Zombify, because you can do that cheaper. So, but that's my opinion. That's I don't think this is great. I don't think it's going to see play. There are better options right now. Capital City, land, town, add colorless for free, doesn't enter tapped, and you can pay 1 to convert mana of any color. It does have a cycling effect, so this might see play just from the fact that it cycles, because if you get this late game and you don't want to land and you're out of other stuff, you might want to just cycle it. And as a mana converter, I guess it's fine. You tap it plus the land of the color that you didn't like, and it'll give you the color you want. I think that's pretty inefficient, so I wouldn't use it for that personally, but again, like I said, the cycling ability means maybe. Who knows? Maybe you would use this in draft also if you see it, but I probably wouldn't. Memories of Nibelheim is a 3-drop instant, destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller gets a 1/1 white human creature token. This is a reprint of Stroke of Midnight, which in my opinion isn't that great of a card to begin with. Again, something maybe you would see used more in draft, because then you're more likely to need the removal, regardless of whether it has some downside or not. So, but I don't love this one. I like the art a lot. It's really fantastic, but I'm not a big fan of Stroke of Midnight. Eden Seat of the Sanctum is a town once again. This one does not enter tapped. It can be tapped for colorless. You can pay 5 and tap it to mill 2 cards. Then you may sacrifice this land. When you do, return another target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. I think this one's just bad. I actually like this town better than this one. I probably will never use this one. Even if you're trying to mill yourself, that's bad. Like, it's really expensive. It's kind of like your late game, I'm out of stuff to do, so help me get something, but it doesn't even put something on the battlefield, it just sends it to your hand, so I don't really like this at all. We've got Realm Sketching, 4-drop sorcery, create a token that's a copy of target artifact, creature, or land. This could see use, this is interesting. A lot of things are fun to copy. Copying your opponent's artifacts, creatures, lands is all very relevant, especially if it's something huge and you just want to get this to kind of get you out of jail when you're in a tight spot. So, interesting. Not a bad one, I don't think. Side quest, Raise a Chocobo. This is going to be seen in pretty much all of the Chocobo decks, I would imagine, because you get the Chocobo. Let's see, is a 2-drop enchantment. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 green bird token with whenever a land you control enters. This token gets +1/+0 until end of turn, so it creates a Chocobo for you. And then additionally, at the beginning of your first main phase, if you control 4 or more birds, transform this into another Chocobo. So gives you a Chocobo, has the potential to give you another Chocobo later if you have 4 of them. I'm going to say this is probably going to be seeing play quite a bit in bird decks because it's basically just a 2-cost, potentially 2 birds. Let's see here. Dark Knight's Greatsword is a 3-drop artifact equipment, another one of these job select equipments. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and is a knight in addition to its other types. It has Chaos Bringer, equip, pay 3 life, activate only once each turn. I think this one's actually going to be really good. And I'll tell you why. It's because the equip cost is life instead of mana. So 3 mana cost to get this out on the battlefield isn't bad. It comes equipped onto a hero token to begin with, which is fine. And then if you want to move it or re-equip it to something after that hero dies, you pay life instead of mana. So I think this is actually a really, really good one. This is, again, one of the better job select ones that we've seen, so I like this one. Let's see, where was I at? We got Restoration Magic is another one of the tiered cards. You pay 1 mana to, if you pay an additional 0, target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. I actually think that's great. You pay 1 to give something hexproof and indestructible in white. This could very, very easily slot into a Sephiroth deck, a Cloud Equipment deck. I think this is very usable in both of those. Then if you pay an additional 1, target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you gain 3 life. Pretty decent. And then if you pay an additional 4, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you gain 6 life. So it doesn't even just target one thing at that point. All of your permanents become hexproof and indestructible. I think this one's really, really good. I honestly do. I think this could be used in a lot of decks as some form of protection. Any deck that you would consider playing Zac Fair in, this has the potential to be used in place of that, so I think this is pretty decent. Got another Evil Reawakened. We've got Ignis, Scientia, or Scientia. I don't know the last word, but I do remember Ignis. I played through Final Fantasy 15, and I actually platinumed that one on the PlayStation. I really enjoyed that game. 3-drop 2/2, legendary creature, Human Advisor. When Ignis enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then I've come up with a new recipe. Pay 3, tap, and exile target card from your graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, create a food token. So this could be used potentially in like a Sultai Roots deck or something like that and still have a lot of value. That's probably where my mind goes to right away with it. It's not a fantastic, fantastic card, but again, in a Roots deck, this has potential, because you could just get rid of your things from your graveyard that you're probably not going to get back, get food tokens, create plant tokens. It's got some value there, for sure. And then, looks like it can help you ramp with its first ability. Doesn't help if you accidentally, like, mill your roots with it, which sucks. I think that's like the biggest problem with a lot of these Roots decks, is that you can't select a enchantment when you do their ability. But still, if you're trying to get land, it helps with that too. So I could see this being used in like a Sultai Roots deck offhand. We got Golbez, Clad in Darkness, a 5-drop reprint of Sir Conrad the Grim. It is a 5-drop 5/4 legendary creature, Human Knight. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Golbez deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you can pay 2 for each player to mill a card. Bit complicated. not the best mill card either. I don't know how I feel about this one. Because I don't know that I would want to put this in like a Demir mill or anything like that. Maybe for some upside when you mill, but I don't know. It's just some pinging. It's hard to say. You might use this, like, I mean, if you really think about it, you could use this in a deck where you're playing Water Crystal, get additional mills off of the mill, get more ping triggers because of that. Maybe there's some value there. But a 5-drop mono black card, it's I don't know about it. Choco Comet, this card I have actually seen be kind of silly. Pay 2 and X. Sorcery Choco Comet deals X damage to any target. Create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So it is a burn spell that can hit creatures, players, battles, whatever, and also creates a chocobo for you. So it's not bad. It is a little on the expensive side for a burn spell, to where I don't think it's gonna be used often. But if you're running red in your chocobo deck, maybe. I also don't think that's going to be extremely common, so I don't think this is going to get a lot of use. Because most chocobo decks that I've seen so far are running like blue-green or something along those lines. I don't really see red in them ever. We've got Sleep Magic, another tiered card. 1-drop enchant creature. Or no, this isn't a tiered card. I thought it was. But 1-drop enchantment aura. Whenever this aura enters, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, and when enchanted creature is dealt damage, sacrifice this aura. That's a weird ability, but... So, I mean... It's okay. There are other enchantments that do this type of stuff, but it doesn't have the if this creature was dealt damage function, so I don't know how I feel about that. I won't be playing this, and I don't know how often it'll be played. It might get used in drafts quite a bit, I could say that. Quastis Trip? I don't know that. What I just said. Anyway. 3-drop 2/2. Legendary creature, human wizard, blue mage, or blue magic. When it enters, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. So, play this creature, get to flashback a spell, can use any color mana to do it, but you do still have to pay mana to do it. I don't really like it. I think this is kind of bad. It is a wizard. Maybe it could go in a wizard deck. I just doubt it. I don't think it's that great. It's kind of expensive, and you still got to pay the instant or sorcery spell that you're trying to flashback, so I just don't think it's great. Vayne Kratos Soldier? Or a Solidor? 2-drop. It is a... Oh, this is a reprint of Finn the Fangbearer. That's cool. So, legendary creature, human warrior, death touch. Whenever a creature you control with death touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So I am familiar with Finn. That was reprinted not even that long ago. And this is a way, way better art. So this is really cool. But isn't Finn the Fangbearer a rare? Maybe not. Maybe that's just my imagination. Cargo ship. 2-drop, 2/3, artifact vehicle, flying, vigilance, tap, add, colorless mana that can only be used to cast or activate abilities of artifacts. Has a crew for 1. I don't think that's that great. It may have use somewhere. It's not terribly expensive, at least. The flying and vigilance is pretty good, but the mana ability, I think, seems pretty restrictive. Alright, we're into our rares now. We've got Summon GF Cerberus, 4-drop 3/3. Chapter 1 is Surveil 1. Chapter 2, double. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. And then triple, when you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. I could see this being used in like a mono red burn deck. I could also maybe see this used in the wizard deck, since you are incentivized to like play non-creature spells, and this lets you copy it multiple times on Sagas 2 and 3. Overall, I think it's pretty expensive for a 4-drop 3/3 creature, so I don't know how I feel about it overall. But there's some use that I could see for it. Maybe it'll be more popular than I'm thinking. Edgar King of Figaro, it's a 6-drop 4/5, which is pretty expensive. Legendary creature, human artificer, noble. When Edgar enters, draw a card for each artifact you control, two-headed coin. The first time you flip one or more coins each turn, those coins come up heads and you win those flips. This is a weird card that I don't see seeing play in Standard like at all. Maybe if you're playing a Commander deck or something that has coin flips, but I don't think this is a very good card. I'm kind of sad that I got it at all or that it was even printed. I don't think it's very good. Maybe I'm wrong and I'm not seeing the coin flip synergy that other people know of off the top of their head, but I just really think this is bad in Standard for sure. Astrologian's Planisphere. This is a really good job select equipment that I've seen as well. Equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other types, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and whenever you draw your third card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. With an equip cost of 2, so a 2-drop equipment with an equip cost of 2, already fantastic. It creates a body for you in one of the hero tokens, and it is a wizard, so it could go very well into like a Grixis wizard deck, like I was saying, along with the Black Mage's Rod. So, actually a really good card. Balam Garden, reprint of Command Beacon. Is a land, tap to add 1 colorless, tap to sacrifice this land, put your commander into your hand from the command zone. That's a cool ability. I wasn't familiar with Command Beacon, but this actually could be really useful in a commander deck or a brawl deck if you're playing on Arena. So, not bad. We've got Ninja Blades. This is another one that I've seen people really enjoy as far as these job select equipments. It is a 3-cost artifact equipment. With job select, equipped creature gets +1/+1 and is a ninja in addition to its other types, and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. That player loses life equal to the discarded card's mana value. So you could use this to sneak in lethal damage really easily if it gets a hit on someone. The equip cost is only 2, and as I said with Buster Sword, a 3-cost cast with a 2-cost equip is not bad at all to begin with. So yeah, this is actually a very fantastic job select card as well. I don't know what I would be using it in, because I'm primarily going to be putting equipment in a Boros deck personally, but this is an interesting one for sure. Actually, could go pretty nice in a deck that is playing with the Snake Horse. I don't even remember what it's called right off the top of my head, but there's a pretty popular deck with it and Dark Confidence since it got reprinted. You could put this in that potentially, actually. Summoner's Grimoire, another job select card. This one's a 4-drop. Equipped creature is a shaman in addition to its other types, and has whenever this creature attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If that card is an enchantment card, it enters tapped and attacking. So this synergizes well with Saga creatures, I guess is what the point was there. This card's silly. I haven't even seen anyone using this one. As a 4-cost in green, that's really not that expensive, and you can use this to just straight up cheat creatures out of your hand into the battlefield, and I know that's a really popular effect from that green Duskmourn creature too that did that. So this could see a lot of play, actually. I think this is very good. As a 4-drop, it's not bad at all. Because even if they get rid of the creature, you still have the equipment on the battlefield most of the time, and it's just a 3-cost equip. So you play this on turn 4, and then attack maybe on turn 5, or even sooner than that if you're ramping, obviously, as well. So, yeah, and where it says if it's an enchantment, you could also easily run, Overlords? To where, like, oh, I have an Overlord of the Hauntwood, so it gives me a land and comes in tapped and attacking right away because it's an enchantment creature. So I think this card's fantastic, actually. Firion Wildrose Warrior. This is one of those really good equipment cards that is new. It's a 3-drop 3/3. Equipped creatures you control have haste, and whenever a non-token equipment you control enters, create a token that's a copy of it, except it has this equipment. Equip abilities cost 2 less to activate. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next upkeep. So it goes away, which sucks. You can absolutely get free equip costs from this, though, with the token. Yeah, this is a really good card for these Boros equipment decks that I've been talking about. I don't know if I would run a whole playset of these, but a few of them could go a long way for sure. We've got Vanette, Heart of Hydaelyn. It's a 3-drop 3/3. Legendary creature, Elder Wizard. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Hero's Sundering is a 7-drop tap and exile target non-land permanent. Transform Vanette, activate only as a sorcery. Turns into Hydaelyn the Mother Crystal. It's a 4/4 with Indestructible. Blessing of Light. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control until the next turn. It gains Indestructible. If that creature is legendary, draw a card. So I could absolutely see this in the Naya Legends deck. Some potential there for sure. It's kind of a complicated card. The 7-drop exile thing is really... I don't know. That's weird. It says exile target non-land permanent, so you could potentially use this to blow up your opponent's stuff, right? Huh. An interesting one, for sure. Expensive, though, so I don't see it getting to transform all that often. We've got Ishgard, the Holy Sea. It is a land. This is your white adventure land from the set. I'm actually happy to see these. I want these adventure lands. It has Faith and Grief for 5. Return up to 2 target artifact or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. So this would be a pretty specific deck case for this one. And then it has, this is a land that enters tapped and pays for 1 white mana otherwise. But I really like these adventure lands, so I hope to get all of them because some of them I know are pretty good. Got the Water Crystal. I've been talking about it a lot going through this pack of cards, or this set of 10 packs of cards. Blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. If an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill that many cards plus 4 instead. And then if you pay 6, each opponent mills cards equal to the number of cards in your hand, which isn't fantastic, but this card is going to see a lot of play with Hope. It's going to see a lot of play with the Riverturn Monument. Obviously, Jace is still playable, so yeah, mill is going to be real now. Like, this is making it happen for sure. And then we've got Sarah Farron, 3-cost Selesnya colors, legendary creature, human citizen, 2/2. The first legendary creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 2 or more other legendary creatures, you may transform Sarah Farron. And then on the transform side, when it is crystallized Sarah, the first legendary creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast, same as the creature side. And then legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. This is going to be a really fantastic card. Legendary decks are going to be absolutely viable right now because there are so many legendaries getting pumped into every single color. So this card is very good, actually. Alright, we got the next 10 to go through. So far, I haven't pulled any super interesting cards that I'm wanting really, really bad yet, but I am really enjoying getting to go through and look through the entirety of the set now, because I've looked at a lot of the stuff from the spoilers, I've looked at the pre-release and watched some deck builds and stuff, so I've kept up with it and I've had a lot of ideas on my own, so I'm really excited for this set. We've got a couple more towns here. We've got Quutrub Fourier. I don't know this card. 3-drop 3/2 creature zombie horror. When this creature enters, choose 1. Destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn, or exile up to 2 cards from a single graveyard. Not the worst card ever, actually. I could see this being used. It's helpful against the very many graveyard decks that are going to be going on right now. Reanimator is going to be a big deal. And even if not, like, dealing damage to something and then destroying it with this is pretty viable. So, could be used. I don't know that it'll be used over just standard like removal spells, but especially in draft I could see this being doable. We've got Haste Magic, 2-drop instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it until your next end step. I mean, just nothing's ever going to be as good as Monstrous Rage, right? Or whatever it is. The monster roll token thing. So, I don't know. This is fine, I guess. The haste is good. The fact that it gives haste is pretty good. Syncopate got reprinted. This is a great art for it, in fact. Counter target spell unless its controller plays X. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard, and it costs 1 blue and X. Aerith Rescue Mission is a 4-drop sorcery. Choose one. Take the elevator, create 3 1/1 colorless hero creature tokens, or take 59 flights of stairs, tap up to 3 target creatures, put a stun counter on one of them. This card's really funny, but I don't think it's that good. It's pretty expensive for essentially just tapping out something or creating a couple of 1/1 tokens, so I don't think it's very good. Dragoon's Wyvern is a 3-drop 2/1 Drake. Flying. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 colorless creature hero token. Again, I don't think this is very good. It's a Drake. It's a 3-drop 2/1. It gives you a 1/1 colorless hero token. I just don't think any of that is that great. Light of Judgment is a 5-drop instant. Light of Judgment deals 6 damage to target creature. Destroy up to 1 equipment attached to that creature. This could be good, actually. Like I said, equipment decks are going to be really popular. People are going to love the cloud decks. So being able to not only blow up a creature, because 6 damage is pretty substantial, but also blow up an equipment specifically along with that, this could see use, especially in sideboard. It is a bit expensive, I will say that. You're probably going to see more use out of things like a Braid, in my opinion, but who knows. Chocobo Kick, 2-drop sorcery. Kicker, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. If the spell was kicked, target creature you control deals twice that much damage instead. This is absolutely going to be seeing play in the Chocobo decks. It is essentially that throw from the saddle card, but better. The kicker is actually a benefit, being able to replay lands if you run out of lands to get your landfall triggers and stuff. So, yeah, this card's going to see play. This one's going to be in bird decks for sure. Another haste magic. We've got Adventurer's End, another town. When this land enters, you gain 2 life and it taps for a colorless. That one's not the worst in the world. I could see that being used if you're, especially if you're a life gain deck, being able to play 2 or gain 2 life off of just playing a land and it doesn't even enter tapped. So yeah, this is not bad. Vane's Treachery, 2-drop instant with a kicker of sacrifice an artifact or creature. That already sounds potentially useful. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and if it was kicked, that creature gets -6/-6 instead. -2/-2 without the kicker is kind of bad for 2 mana, because you could get that just from a stab, but the -6/-6, as long as you could pay the kicker cost, is pretty okay. I do wish it was a 1-drop, but yeah, this is an interesting card that could probably see play in Sephiroth decks at the very least. We've got Call of the Mountain Chocobo, a 4-drop sorcery. Search your library for a mountain card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Then shuffle, create a 2/2 bird creature token with the landfall ability, and it has a flashback for 6. Personally, I think this is bad. You get 1 land, you put it into your hand instead of onto the battlefield, and you get 1 Chocobo. It does have flashback, but the flashback is extremely expensive. The 4 cost for the standard ability is really expensive, so I don't think this is very good. We've got Gobu Gardener, 2-drop 1/3 that taps for 1 green. I guess this is fine. It's not going to see as much play as Llanowar Elves, I can guarantee that, but it is a mana dork, and it's got a little bit of toughness, so it could potentially block favorably for you in the early game. But again, you're going to see more Llanowar Elves than anything. Another Syncopate, Town Greeter, 2-drop creature, human citizen, 1/1. When this creature enters mill 4 cards, you may put a land card from among them into your hand. If you put a town card into your hand this way, you gain 2 life. So, plays into those town cards more. I do know there's going to be a lot of town potential. Even if you don't play towns, it still gets you a land into your hand and potentially fills up your graveyard, which is good for green usually. So, not the worst card ever. I've definitely seen people using it already in like the pre-release. So there is some potential for this card to be seen used quite a bit. We got Weapons Vendor, 4-drop 2/2 human creature artificer. When this creature enters, draw a card at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control an equipment, you may pay 1. When you do, attach target equipment you control to target creature you control. So it basically can turn any of your equipments into a 1-cost equip during combat. That's fine. It's a 4-drop 2/2 though. So you're probably not going to want to play this until like turn 5 or getting any real value for it out of it until turn 5. I think it's just too slow. That's how I honestly feel about it. I think this is just a bit too slow. We've got the Kokuri, or Kuriel, I don't know, Koirl. This is a 2-drop 2/2 cat beast. Pay 2 and tap target non-enchantment creature. I don't think this is that great. Maybe it'll go into a cat deck, but I doubt it. I don't think it's very good. Got Slash of Light, 2-drop instant. Slash of Light deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control plus the number of equipment you control to target creature. Oh gosh, I just got choked. I don't think this is going to be as good as the, like, what is it, Voltage Surge, the red affinity for equipment, like burn spell. But I mean, it could potentially go in the same Boros deck if you need more removal. I could especially see it being used in that deck in the sideboard potentially along with it. Give me just a moment to take a drink. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I've been talking a long time now. Starting to lose my voice and get choked up. Got another job select card here. Thief's Knife, 3-drop with a 4-cost equip. Seems pretty expensive so far. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, and is a rogue in addition to its other types. I think this one's terrible. It's really expensive to re-equip. It's a 3-cost on its own, and the ability itself is not particularly useful. I mean, yeah, you get to draw a card when you deal damage to an opponent, but there are already lots of ways to draw and discard and stuff like that to trigger those abilities, so I don't think this one's very good at all. We've got Van, the Aspiring Sky Pirate here again, already seen that. Travel the Overworld. 7-cost affinity for towns, draw 4 cards. If you're playing a town deck, you can get a really cheap draw 4 cards, but that's really going to be the only use for this, in my opinion. I don't think it's very good. Garland. Now, this is a card I actually really was interested in seeing. 2-drop, 3/2, which is great already. Totally fine on its own. Going to be good in Rakdos. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Surveil 1. Also really good. Fantastic on its own. Gives you the ability to look at your top deck anytime you play a kill spell, anything like that, so really good. Then, if you have the ability to pay 7, return this card from your graveyard, so it's already going to be after it's dead later on in the game. Return this from your graveyard to the battlefield transformed, and you can only activate this as a sorcery. It becomes a demon. Keep that in mind too if you want to play it in a Rakdos demon deck. Flying 5/5. When Chaos dies, put it to the bottom of its owner's library. So when it dies, it doesn't even go back into the graveyard, it goes back into your library. I think this card is totally fine, totally usable, especially in Rakdos. 2-drop 3/2 on its own is already viable. So everything else about this is just added great flavor. I'm a big fan. I think this is going to be a really good card. I don't think it's going to be used a lot right away, but I do think this card is good and will probably see play in Rakdos or aggressive decks that use those kinds of things. We've got the regular Cactuar here, a 1-drop 3/3 with Trample. At the beginning of your end step, if this creature didn't enter the battlefield this turn, return it to its owner's hand. So you play it, next turn, get to attack with it. If it doesn't die, then it goes back to your hand. I think it's pretty bad. Like, actually, it's wasting mana to keep playing it over and over. It'll probably just get killed before then, and trying to attack with it later, like, you're just wasting mana on it, in my honest opinion. So I don't think it's that good. It could see play, like, you know, the Ronin card did something similar, only it was on the same turn. I think there was a card just released in Tarkir that also did that, which hasn't been that good. So yeah, I don't like the regular Cactuar very much. This one's not very good. We've got Relentless X Atom 92 or X ATM 092. 6-drop Robot Spider, 6/5. This creature can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, and if you pay 8, return this creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped with a finality counter on it. Maybe this card could see play in an Ugin deck. Other than that, I don't think it's very good. But 6-drop is cheaper than 7. It's a big body. It requires a lot of blockers. If you already have Ugin out on the battlefield, it exiles something for you. You get it back from the graveyard, potentially, without having to have it in hand. So maybe it gets used in an Ugin deck. We've got Samurai's Katana. This is another job select equipment, and from what I've seen, this is actually a really, really good one. Let's see here and see if I can agree with that. Is a 3 cost with a 5 equip cost, which is super expensive. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has trample and haste, which is fantastic, and is a samurai in addition to its other types. I could see this one being good because it does create a body for you, and there are ways to cheat equipment cost with these new cards, because there's I think there's the guy that Raubon that attacks and you can equip target equipment to him. So with something like that, this could be good. But a 5 equip cost on its own is very bad. Very, very bad. So mixed feelings for me on this one. I don't know if it's as good as I've heard it hyped up to be. We've got Zach Fair. I love this card. I love the character. I really enjoyed Crisis Core. Played all the way through it. It made me hate Cloud. But yeah, so Zach Fair, 1 cost, white, 0/1. When Zach Fair enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it, and you can pay 1 and sacrifice Zach Fair to give target creature you control indestructible until end of turn. You put any number of counters that were on Zach onto that creature, and equip any equipment that was on Zach. No, attach an equipment that was attached to Zach to that creature. So going to be usable in those equipment decks where you play Cloud. It will be very thematic because essentially Cloud will be stealing his equipment the same way he did in Crisis Core. I'm a little salty, but or you could even also play this in like a Sephiroth deck to give Sephiroth indestructible and stuff like that too, which I think I may do. I've already kind of planned out a couple of decks that utilize it. I like Zach a lot, though. It is a legendary creature, probably worth keeping that in mind. So I don't know if you'll want to run a full play set, but even if you do, that sacrifice ability is going to be really good to protect your things, kind of like a Skrelv would. Promise Fulfilled, 3-drop, Light Up the Stage is the reprint originally. It's got Sorcery, Spectacle 1, exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of your next turn. You may play those cards. And then Spectacle, you may cast the spell for its Spectacle cost rather than its mana cost if an opponent lost life this turn. So actually not bad. I could see this being used, especially with the Spectacle cost, so it's a pretty good reprint. We've got Side Quest Card Collection is a 4 cost. Enchantment. When this enchantment enters, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards at the beginning of your end step. If 8 or more cards are in your graveyard, transform this enchantment. It transforms into a vehicle, which is a 4/4 with flying and crew 1. I don't think this is very good. I think a 4-drop, this is just meh. I do think it will be very easy to transform in a type of deck where you would use this, because you'll probably be playing like either mono blue or something where you would get like the Eddie Merc Crab and the Haughty Djinn and get a whole bunch of instants and sorceries in your graveyard really fast. But I just don't think that what you get from it flipping matters. It's not that good. So we've got Endwalker, 1-drop Brainstorm reprint. Instant, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. I think this is really good. It is not legal in Historic or Traditional Historic, apparently. Which I assume must be bans, right? Is that what these are all about? Because if they've been reprinted in Standard, normally you'd be able to use them wherever. But anyway, I think this is a really good card, actually. The things don't even go into your graveyard. You can order your draws, and you can get really good stuff. So I think this is fine, and the art is absolutely fantastic. Let's see. Goluf's Final Act, 2-drop instant until the end of turn. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains when this creature dies. Put a number of 1/1 counters equal to its power on up to 1 target creature. So that's actually a pretty good combat trick, and I could see that being useful in a situation where like you're attacking in with a big creature and it's gonna die, so you decide to just transfer its power over to someone else. I don't hate this. I don't love combat tricks in general, but this is a pretty good one if you're gonna have to use one. So I don't know if I will use this card, but it's an interesting one. Got another GF Cerberus, another Hope. got a Saw's Catsroy is a 4-drop 3/3 legendary creature human pilot. When Saw's enters, you may search your library for a bird or basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. When Saw's Catsroy attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, then double the number of 1/1 counters on that creature. I have seen this being used in the Chocobo decks. Not excessively, because it is a pretty expensive card, but it's really good. It lets you fetch a bird or a basic land card if you need it. And then the benefits of having Saws out and attacking means that you could potentially significantly pump. Like, the Saw's Chocobo is another one that's like a 1-drop green 0/1 that every time you play land it gets a 1/1 counter. So these two combined with each other is fantastic because you get some really crazy counters on it that quickly. Ultima, this is the new board wipe. 5-drop sorcery, destroy all artifacts and creatures in the turn. And then we've got Balam Garden Seed Academy, another land town. This one appears to be a Simic color, green-blue. It enters tapped. Transform this land for 7 cost. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each other town you control. It turns it into a vehicle. I probably won't use this. I don't play a lot of Simic colored stuff to begin with. I did play some combinations of like Sultai and stuff like that in Tarkir, but I don't know. I don't see a lot of benefit from turning my land into a vehicle personally, but I don't know. I also don't love lands entering tapped if they don't absolutely have to, so see what else we got. Another Memories Returning. Raubon, I was just talking about this card earlier. Another fantastic card that's going to be seeing a lot of play in artifacts, or equipment decks, I should say. Raubon, Bull of Alamigo. Legendary creature, human warrior, ward, pay life equal to Raubon's power, which can be pretty significant. And whenever Raubon attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target attacking creature. So it is a 2/2 creature that when it attacks, you get to for free equip an equipment you already have out on the battlefield. This pairs so fantastically well with things like Leyline Axe, and yeah, his ward ability means that to kill him, you already have to basically shoot yourself in the foot to do it. So, very good card. Going to be seeing absolutely a lot of play in equipment decks. Another Ultima. I'll probably never use these if I'm being totally honest. Maybe I will. The fact that they also destroy artifacts is good, but I just think you're going to rather want to use Sunfall or something, personally. Vivi Ornator. This is obviously a super popular card. It is a wizard card, so it goes in that sort of Grixis color scheme. Wizards, if you want to play that, is a 0/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a 1/1 counter on Vivi, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And you can pay 0 to add X mana in any combination of red and or blue, where X is Vivi's power, and you can only activate this during your turn and only once each turn. Now, where it says during your turn and once per turn means you can't do it on your opponent's turn. However, it doesn't mean that it's sorcery speed. So you can do this during your combat step, you can do it during your main phase or second main phase, you can do this during your draw step. So very interesting wording there on that. But this is a very popular card. Everybody's been talking about it since this set has showcased. A lot of people have tried putting it in the Is That Prowess deck and stuff like that. But I do think this is going to see use. And I think, like I said, this could go really well in like a Grixis Wizard deck. And then we have Cloud Midgar Mercenary. So another card that's going to be an absolute staple in all of that equipment decks that I have been talking about. Legendary creature, human soldier mercenary, 2/1 for 2. When Cloud enters, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. As long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So, if your equipment has an ability, let's go for one that I've seen that has been really good, the Spark Planeswalker equipment. If you equip that to Cloud, then it gets double triggers on the loyalty ticking up. Really fantastic there. There are some other abilities too. Buster Sword, for example, would get to trigger twice, giving you whatever damage you deal. You get to put 2 cards out of that mana value of whatever damage you dealt. Things like that. So Cloud, obviously, again, another staple staple equipment card that you're going to be seeing, probably along with Raubon. Raubon's really, really good too. Alright, we got another 10. We've got 20 packs left here, essentially, because I'm going to go through my gold packs as well. So 2 more chunks to go, essentially. Let's see what we get this time. Do have some more new pop-ups. That's what I like to see. Suplex, new piece of removal. It is a 2-drop sorcery. Suplex deals 3 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So essentially like a Torch the Tower for 3 instead of 2, which is not bad. Or you can use it to exile target artifact. You could easily see this as like a new Abrade. A pretty decent one, in fact, too. You could use this in place of Abrade and it would be fantastic. You can get rid of artifacts and you can deal 3 damage to a creature and exile them instead of kill them. So yeah, I'll probably be using this instead of Abrade in a lot of my decks going forward that would use it. We've got Loporrit Scout. It's a 3-drop 3/2 Rabbit Scout. Whenever another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I don't think that's very good. There are more permanent versions of that same effect that don't end at end of turn, so meh. Another Suplex. We've got White Auracite. Is 4-drop artifact. When this artifact enters, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until this artifact leaves the battlefield, and you can tap it to add 1 mana. As a 4 cost, I don't think this is fantastic because you can get similar abilities for 3 or less, so I don't think this will see any play personally. Maybe in draft, because again, it's removal in draft that also ramps you, so it could be useful there. Another Scout. We've got Armon, 3-drop 2/2 Flying Death Touch. Not terrible. For a 3-drop, I don't know that I'd care about it, because you could easily just use the, what is it, Quasi-Revenant? Sorry, Revenant. But it also has pay 3, sacrifice another creature or artifact to draw a card. I don't think it's good enough to use, because you could just get the Revenant and have a 3/3 Flying Death Touch lifelink creature. You don't get the sacrifice ability, but I don't think this is a very good sacrifice ability requiring you to pay 3 mana. We've got Sephiroth's Intervention, a 4-drop destroy target creature. You gain 2 life. This is going to see play in draft for sure. It is on the expensive end at 4 mana, but being able to destroy a target creature and gain 2 life is probably worth it in draft, so pretty good there. We've got another Shadowbringers. I think I looked at this earlier. Yeah. Then Pixie, 2-drop 2/1. It is a fairy, so if you wanted to do Fairy Tribal again, this is something that could go in it. Flying, whenever this creature attacks, Surveil 1, which isn't that bad. We've got Search for the Frozen Esper, a 1-drop reprint of Nature's Claim. Instant destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. At 1-drop, this is actually pretty good. Healing your opponent sucks, but this being reprinted means this could be a really good sideboard destroy target artifact or equipment thing. I could absolutely see it being used in sideboard just for that. So even if it heals your opponent, being able to just pop stuff when you're up against like Domain and stuff is really going to be valuable. Delivery Moogle, 4-drop 3/2. Creature type Moogle. Flying, when this creature enters, search your library and or graveyard for an artifact card with mana value 2 or less, reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shovel. I think it's a pretty expensive mana cost for that ability. I don't know that I would be using this in any kind of like an equipment deck or anything like that, but maybe in like Azorius artifacts. Even then, I really don't think so. I don't think this one's going to see much use. Crystal Fragments. We've got Artifact Equipment. Equip creature gets +1/+1. This is a 1-drop artifact, by the way. A 7-cost, exile this equipment, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. So if you transform it, it turns into Summon Alexander. Saga Chapters 1 and 2 prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control this turn. Saga number 3, tap all creatures your opponents control, and it's a 4/3 with flying. The 7 cost for transforming it's pretty expensive. It is only a 1-cost, 1-equip artifact, but it only gives +1/+1 unless you flip it, so I actually don't think this is very good. We've got Gladiolus Amicitia, is a gruel-colored 7 cost? 6 cost. 6/6, when Gladiolus enters, search your library for a land card, put it into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, another target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. It's pretty expensive at a 6 cost, but it is a 6/6 creature, which somewhat justifies it. The landfall ability is good because it actually could pump your Gladiolus or another creature that actually can attack that turn. And it forces a land out onto the battlefield, which is really good for landfall. So maybe this could see use, but like I said, as a 6 cost, it's probably too slow for standard. You'll probably already have discovered a winner by then, unless you're playing like against a control deck, in which case this may not even be able to hit the board. The Final Days. 4-drop sorcery. Create 2 tapped 2/2 black horror creature tokens. If the spell was cast from a graveyard, instead create X of these tokens, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. It's got a flashback cost of 6. It's a 4-drop to do it on its own. I could see this card being used. If this was demons, this would definitely be used. I could see this being used in like a graveyard deck, a Golgari graveyard deck, something along those lines. At a 4 cost, it's not terribly expensive. The flashback cost is pretty expensive, but you could fill up your graveyard with creatures pretty easily. Opera Lovesong is a 2-cost instant. Choose one, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards until your next end step. One of 2 target creatures each get +2/+0 until end of turn. We've got the Poo-Poo UFO, 2-drop 0/4, artifact creature construct alien, flying, tap. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. That's a pretty good ability. Pay 3 until end of turn. This creature's base power and toughness, base power becomes equal to the number of towns you control. So it's really ideally meant for town cards. They do enter the battlefield tapped most of the time if they're the multicolored towns that I've been getting as, like, what are they, commons? However, the fact that you can tap it and just put one out on the battlefield is actually pretty nice. Already looked at that one. Newfound Adventure, 2-drop. Reprint of Farseek. Sorcery, search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Obviously not a bad card. I've seen it used in a lot of different formats. The reprint's fine. The art looks good, so probably we'll see use of some kind. It does let you put it out on the battlefield tapped for 2, which is good. So as long as you're playing a multicolored deck like Golgari or something like that, this probably works. We've got Prompto. 2-drop 2/2 legendary creature human scout with haste. Selfie shot, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, create a treasure token. So, 2-drop 2/2 isn't the worst thing in the world for a creature, but 4 mana instance and sorcery spells or non-creature spells are somewhat hard to come across most of the time, and just creating a treasure token from doing that isn't hugely impactful. So, I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't think it's fantastic by any means. We've got Reno and Rude, 2-drop legendary creature, human assassin. It is a 2/1 creature with menace. Whenever Reno and Rude deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, you may play the exiled card this turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. So, it's a 2-cost 2/1 with menace, which probably will get to hit like maybe once, maybe, if you get to go first, and that's assuming you don't do anything to pump it. And then if you hit with it, you have to sacrifice something else you control, a creature or artifact, and if you do, then you can pay the mana cost for that thing that was exiled to cast it. I don't like it. I don't think it's that great. There's definitely potential there, but it makes it if you're going to be getting to cast something for free from your opponent's library, it needs to be for free, not cost mana on top of you having to pay a sacrifice on top of that. I just don't think this is that good. We've got Diamond Weapon, 9-cost 8/8 legendary artifact creature elemental. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent card in your graveyard. It has reach, and it has immune. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Diamond Weapon. This actually isn't that bad. It is extremely expensive. However, the fact that it gets reduced by permanent cards in your graveyard is pretty significant. So, I could actually see this being used. And the art actually is great. I really like the art on that one. Alright, getting into our rares here. Got a wild card. Xanarkand, Ancient Metropolis. We've got, let's look at the adventure side here. Lasting Faith. 6 cost, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token, put a 1/1 counter on it for each land you control. Considering you would need 6 mana to do this, I mean, it's at least going to be a 7/7 creature, so not bad, not bad. And then obviously it's also enters tapped green land on its own. Not fantastic as far as these adventure lands go, but that actually does have value, because at least what you're getting out of it is a creature that's big. We've got Lindblom Industrial Regency, another adventure land. This one is pay 3. Create a 0/1 Black Wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. This one will absolutely be seeing play in those Rakdos or Grixis Wizard decks. So, yeah, this one's fine. It's only a 3 cost, is totally usable. We've got Crystal of Altar Cave, a reprint of Chromatic Lantern. Interesting. 3-drop. Lands you control have add 1 mana of any color, and you can also tap it to add mana of any color. I would use this. I don't know if I would use it in Standard, but this is actually a really good card because it mana fixes for you so well. And it's a beautiful reprint. Like, this art's great. We've got Aerith Gainsborough, big fan. Another part of why I hate Cloud is, like, she was totally flirting and dating with Zach, and then all of a sudden just switched over to Cloud. But anyway, I digress. Aerith Gainsborough, 3-drop, 2/2, legendary creature, human cleric, lifelink. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Aerith Gainsborough. So really good in life gain decks. When Aerith Gainsborough dies, put X 1/1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on Aerith Gainsborough. So really going to be good in those types of lifelink decks, life gain decks. I don't remember even what it was at this point, but there was some other life gain deck that I had mentioned earlier. Card that would fit in really well. Probably would go pretty well with Aerith. Stiltskin Moogle Merchant, 1-drop, 1/2, legendary creature Moogle, lifelink, pay 2 and tap. Target opponent gains control of another target permanent you control. If they do, you draw a card. I don't like this card. It is a cheap legendary creature that could go really well with Serapharen. It has lifelink, so that's fine if you plan on buffing it. But its ability is something that's very obscure. The reason that you'd want to do it is pretty odd. Like, I can't think of very many good reasons, except for, like, those instant win combos where, like, you... What is it, Greed's Gambit or something like that? I don't even remember, but... I don't like this card very much, personally. It doesn't fit... The ability doesn't fit with the colors that it's in. Ooh, we've got Primal Odin. Obviously, this is a really good card. Already seen a lot of instant win potential with it that is hilarious. It's a 6-cost, 5/3. Its first chapter is destroy target creature an opponent controls, so it clears the way for you a little bit. Its second chapter is this creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. The combination of this card plus Arden is silly. Even just this card, when you use, like, Coiling Rebirth, is so good. Because then you get to basically shoot out most of your opponent's board presence and then attack on the next turn and potentially just outright kill them. And then Chapter 3, draw 2 cards, each player loses 2 life. So, if it doesn't kill them and survives to the next turn, when it finally blows up, it draws you a couple of cards and hurts your opponent. And you. Vincent Valentine, super big fan of this character. The card is a little weak in my opinion, from what I've seen. I probably will try to find a way to make it work, but I like this so much that I really need this card to be better. But anyway, 4-drop, 2/2, legendary creature assassin. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a number of 1/1 counters on Vincent Valentine equal to that creature's power. That on its own is really good. This thing being a 4-drop 2/2 is what makes it difficult to kind of love. But then whenever Vincent Valentine attacks, you may transform it. Probably one of the easiest transformation options out of any card I've ever heard. But then, so it gets trample and lifelink. And then when Gallon Beast dies, return it to the battlefield tapped front face up. So you have Vincent Valentine. Anything of your opponents that gets killed gets its power added to Vincent Valentine in the form of 1/1 counters. And then when Vincent Valentine attacks, he can turn into Gallon Beast and get Trample and Lifelink, keeps all those 1/1 counters as far as I'm aware, and then if he dies, he just comes back as Vincent Valentine. So I want to use this card. I haven't decided on a deck for it yet. I don't know what I'll build around it, but I like this card so much. Another hope. Genji Glove. 5-cost artifact equipment. Equipped creature has double strike. Whenever equipped creature attacks, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap it. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. And then it has an equip cost of 3. As a whole, I think this is pretty bad because it's a 5-cost card. So you're probably never going to see this in any equipment deck in Standard. But yeah, so that's kind of my point of it right now. There's no way to cheat this out that I know of to make it cheaper than 5 mana to play it. There are ways to make the equip cost easier, but the equip cost is pretty reasonable. It's just the cast cost that's not. And then we've got Nibelheim of Flame. This is a 4-cost sorcery. Choose target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. If the spell was cast from the graveyard, discard your hand and draw 4 cards. It has a flashback cost of 7. This is a really good board wipe that just is like, I choose to keep my creature and blow up everything else. This could be good in like a Rakdos deck with Sephiroth or something along those lines too, because every time a creature dies and Sephiroth is on the battlefield, it'll trigger those pings and could potentially even flip it. So this has some potential there for, as a 4-cost board wipe, that's not even that bad either, because most board wipes are 5. Got 6 more Final Fantasy packs, and then 4 gold packs. Alright, got another town. We've got Choco Mog Summon. 3/3 for 3, and it has Stampede for all of its chapters. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. I don't think this is very good. I don't think it's bad per se, but it's not very good. A 3-cost 3/3 is fine, but the ability just being +1/+0 until each other creature you control is kind of meh. It could be good, and it could be bad depending on what else you have on the battlefield, which is why I don't really like it. Balam T-Rex is a 6-cost 6/6. This is your forest cycling card. Trample, this creature enters, you gain 3 life. I actually think this is really good. Whether you cheat it out or hard cast it, you're getting life gain, you're getting a trample body, and the forest cycling is nice because you could throw it into your graveyard, go grab a forest, and potentially reanimate it. So, not bad. Let's see, a lot of cards we've already seen, thankfully. We've got Magic Damper, 1-drop instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn, and you untap it. That's not bad at all, especially for a 1-drop card. The hexproof and untap could be a fantastic combat trick, especially for something like a Haughty Djinn or Eddie Merc-Crab, you know, what have you. So this is actually a pretty good card. Orin's Inspiration, 3-drop instant attacking creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn. And it has a flashback cost for 4. You could use this to try and swing for a win on your turn, but I just don't think it's that good of a combat trick personally, so I don't really like it. We've got Battle Menu, another one of these tiered cards, unless I'm mistaken. No, you just choose one. So anyway, pay 2 and then choose 1. Attack gives you a 2/2 White Knight creature token. Ability gives you target creature +0/+4 until end of turn. Magic, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, or item, you gain 4 life. So this has a lot of modality to it. There's a lot of options from it. It's very good in that regard. So you could potentially use this to do a lot of different things depending on what you need at the time. In that sense, it's a pretty good card. If you put this main board in a best of 1 deck, it's probably going to get some use at some point, one way or another. So it's actually really good. We've got Rigius, Summoner of Mist, is a Gruul 2-drop 1/2 with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Summon X, tap, and return target Saga card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. With a finality counter on it, it gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. And it looks like that summon X is how much mana you pay, so as long as you pay the mana for whatever you're trying to get, you can tap this to return a Saga creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. We've got Squall Leon Heart, 3-drop, is a reprint of Danitha Caption Paragon. Legendary creature Human Knight is a 2/2 first strike vigilance lifelink creature, and aura and equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Maybe this could be used in an equipment deck. As a 3-drop 2/2, it has first strike vigilance and lifelink, so maybe this is playable in an equipment deck, because it does at least reduce the cost of your equipment. So it's hard to say. I wouldn't say that this is like my first pick, but it's potential. It's definitely got potential. We've got Zidane, Tantalus Thief, legendary creature, human mutant scout, 3/3. When Zidane enters, gain control of target creature or opponent controls until end of turn. Untap it, it gains lifelink and haste until end of turn. Whenever an opponent gains control of permanent from you, you create a treasure token. So I guess that's whenever it gets back control of its creature or anytime they try to steal something. Interesting. 5-cost card. I don't know how I feel about it at that expense, but it could potentially give you a big body to lifelink and haste with, so... Of course, I will say, most of the time, these kinds of cards that let you steal your opponent's cards are just like mono red, and you could put them in Rakdos for sacrifice stuff. I don't know about... maybe if you did Mardu, I guess, with Zidane. Chocobo Racetrack is a 5-cost artifact with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, create a Chocobo that has the landfall ability of +1/+0 until end of turn. That's pretty good. That's a 5-cost, it's a little expensive, but being able to just endlessly create Chocobos is pretty good. We're into our rares already. We've got another Saz Katsroy. We've got Genova. Ancient Calamity is a 4-drop 1/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a number of 1/1 counters equal to Genova's power on up to one other target creature. That creature becomes a mutant in addition to its other types, and whenever a mutant you control dies during your turn, you draw cards equal to its power. So, obviously, you want to be able to make Genova stronger, because the power dictates how many 1/1 counters you can put on other things you control, but essentially it can keep making your entire board stronger over time. Interesting card. I'd have to play around with how exactly I'd want to use it, but I do like it. Midgar, City of Mako. This is your black adventure land. You can pay 3, you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, draw 2 cards. Not bad at all. Especially for 3, you get to draw 2 cards. And it doesn't cost you any life, which is how that usually works. And then it also enters as a tapped black source. Got another one here. Jill Shiva Dominant, 3-drop 2/2. Legendary creature, human noble warrior. When Jill enters, return up to one other target non-land permanent to its other owner's hand. And then if you pay 5, tap, exile Jill, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. So, it turns into Shiva, Warden of Ice. Is a 4/5 Saga creature. Mesmerize is your chapters 1 and 2. Target creature can't block this turn. In chapter 3, Cold Snap. Tap all lands your opponents control. Exile Shiva, then return it to the battlefield front face up, and it turns back into the creature side, the front side. So that's pretty good, actually. 3-drop 2/2 isn't terrible. The ability itself could potentially get a threat out of your face. The transform is not extremely expensive, and it stalls pretty nice for you with its Saga chapters after that. And when it does flip, finally, or run out of chapters, it just turns back into the creature. And then a wild card for me, which is nice. Let's go ahead and open our 4 gold packs here. See what new Final Fantasy cards we get from that. Alright, Kellen, not new. Corey Steelcutter, I probably did actually need that, so that's fine. Tella Great Sage is a 5-cost 3/3 legendary creature human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token. If 4 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, draw 2 cards. If 8 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, sacrifice it and deals damage to each opponent. I don't think this one's going to see much use. I don't like that one. Another Squall. Not new. Another Tifa. I don't recognize this card, but I already have it from Bloomborough, apparently. Another Jill. Another Furion, which is actually pretty good. Earth Crystal, hadn't seen that one yet. 4-drop legendary artifact. Green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. If 1 or more 1/1 counters would be put on a creature you control, twice that many 1/1 counters are put on that creature instead. Could be useful in Chocobos, maybe. And then it has a 6-cost. Tap, distribute 2 1/1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures you control. What else we got here? We got Sage of the Skies, not new. Sylvan Scavenging, not new. Dissection Tools. Another Aerith Gainsborough. Another Preposterous Proportions. The Regalia is new. 4-drop, 4/4 haste vehicle with crew 1. Whenever the Regalia attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Not the worst vehicle I've seen. The fact that it can go get land for you and put it onto the battlefield is pretty nice. And the crew cost is only 1, which isn't bad. And it has haste, so you could use it the turn you put it out, potentially. We got another Genova. Summon Titan, 5 cost 7/7. Chapter 1, mill 5 cards. Chapter 2, return all land from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Very, very nice. Chapter 3, until end of turn, another target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X, where X is the number of lands you control. So actually really good for ramping, really good if you're playing like a graveyard land deck, and being a 5 cost 7/7 with Rage and Trample on its own is actually really good. Got Thunderous Velocipede, Noctis Prince of Lucis again, another Velocipede, Ader and Pruin. So this is new. 6-cost legendary artifact equipment. It has a 6 cost to play it, a 5 cost to equip it. Equipped creature has base power and toughness XX, where X is your life total. I don't like this one. It's very finicky. It's not very reliable, and it's expensive. So when you get it out, there's no telling what life you'll be at. So I don't like this one at all. Lumra, really, really good with Titan over here. And Traveling Chocobo, actually a really good card. 3 cost 3/2. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. And if a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability or a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. This card is fantastic. It's going to be good in things other than just Chocobos. Any kind of landfall deck especially is really, really good. So Traveling Chocobo is fantastic. Anyway, that is all of my packs that I've gotten so far. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at them with me and hearing my overall analysis on what I pulled at least. Got plenty of wild cards, so I'm going to be able to craft up a lot of the stuff that I wanted that I didn't get. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the coming days where I play decks using these new cards. This set's really exciting, so I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you all are too.